Hey, welcome. Appreciate you joining another episode of Uncommon Entrepreneurs Lunch and Learns. I'm here with the wonderful Linda Holcman, and we go back maybe a year or so with the Chamber of Commerce.
And when you first, I think you had just moved down here to Puerto Rico, which very welcomed addition, I may add.
I appreciate
I'm excited that you're here.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
so I'll kind of go over her bio and get things going for those that are tuning in for the first time, that are just learning about this new experiment that we're doing. I moved down to Puerto Rico a couple years ago and just found a wonderful ecosystem of a lot of entrepreneurs that had scaled and have successful companies, and there's just something about picking the brain of people that have executed and done things successful in their life, and implementing those puzzle pieces into your life that really can make a difference. And so I'm always hungry to learn from the people I'm interviewing, like Linda today, as I hope you are. So if you have a pen and paper, take it out. You're going to give me a lot of good notes. We'll be doing these Wednesdays and Fridays live, and we have everything backed up on YouTube if you missed one. So we'll be coming from that. If you have any feedback, if you what would be amazing is if what specifically about these do you like best that we can make sure that we do more of, because we're tailoring this to you. And it's sure we are here in wonderful Santurce, Puerto Rico at the moment, San Juan, but we're projecting this to the world because the knowledge base that's down here is terrific. So getting into today, we are speaking with Linda Holcman. And she answers what's next and delivers growth for business to business to business to customer, small businesses, and Fortune 500 companies. She's experienced in 24 countries. Linda adeptly navigates emerging and developing markets, building opportunities across industries such as technology, media, and consumer product goods. Linda successfully turns ideas into reality and sales potential into realized revenue. Her experience in driving growth, market entry, demand generation, and branding yield entry into a strategic understanding in context to operation and tactical execution. Prior to launching her consulting practice, Linda honed her marketing skills in leading Fortune 500 companies. In her practice, Linda has worked with late-stage startups, small and mid-sized firms, as well as mentors startup ventures. Linda holds an MBA from Harvard Business School and a BS from Northeastern University. She is a lecturer and speaker in management, marketing, and global branding. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah.
And as I said, it's really wonderful. I think that I'm very pleased to be here, and I'm very pleased that you're doing this at such an important juncture, not just in the world, but especially in Puerto Rico, because I think that the last couple of years have been pivotal to exploding our entrepreneurial community, and I'm thankful that you're shining a light on it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, there's power in connections.
Absolutely.
And so who you know, and everybody's at home, so networking, and so it's kind of a digital business card, a way for people to get to know who you are and the other people.
Yeah.
So, kind of getting into more of your background, in Puerto Rico and how you started in corporate America and leading to your entrepreneurial ventures.
Yeah, so I'm actually from Puerto Rico. So I was essentially raised here, but went to university in Boston at Northeastern. And it's kind of interesting, little island girl gets to the US, and Northeastern has an interesting program, which is a cooperative education program. So you work half the year and you go to school half the year. And that really exposed me to traditional multinational corporations. And I had a very long, illustrious career there. But interestingly enough, and because at that time Puerto Rico didn't have a lot of multinationals, I chose to stay in the mainland, as it were. And there were a lot more opportunities. I mean, it was...
This is just starting your career?
I was starting my career, so it was late early 80s, early 90s. Yeah. And it was a good time to be in the Northeast in a multinational, the go-go money days.
I got it.
But what's interesting is that I grew up in an entrepreneurial family.
Okay.
And my corporate career, essentially, I was the entrepreneur. It was the person who was like, we don't know how to figure it out, give it to Linda, sink or swim, or start a new department or start a new initiative. And what's interesting is that very much like now, where I see a lot of people at this same juncture, my full-on entrepreneurial career started in crisis.
Got it.
So I started my little kiosco, how they say here in Puerto Rico, my little entrepreneurial endeavor in 2008.
Okay.
In the financial crisis.
Got it.
And so it's interesting because I've been getting a lot of calls. People are finding themselves very much like I was in 2008,
Got it.
unemployed,
Sure.
not really sure what to do, where to go, and just in a bit of a panic on, I still have my bills to pay.
Yep.
And for me, the challenge was that I did not want to do, I wanted my career to pivot
Yeah.
in kind of like the worst time of the universe. Sort of, there's real parallels to that right now. My practice is now pivoting as well. And it's hard, but it's doable.
Got it.
I had decided that I wanted to go back to international work, and that I wanted to, the kind of work that I wanted to do was that pure definition of business development.
Okay.
Where you're identifying the opportunity, developing the strategy, developing the details behind the strategy, that go-to-market plan, and executing.
Got it.
And so I just said, fine, this is what I want to do. No one's hiring. Let's go to it.
Got it.
And it's been quite a journey because clearly, as you well know, I moved back to Puerto Rico just before Hurricane Maria, so about a year or two before. And I sort of feel like this 10 years, particularly, you know, like from 2008 to, I guess, 2018,
Yeah.
right after the hurricane, it's just been up and down, and at times felt like I was a little ball in the pinball machine, just getting up, getting slapped down, getting up. But thus is the life of an entrepreneur.
Yeah. You're still standing.
And still
Or sitting.
standing and sitting, yes. But one of the things that's really interesting for me is that I found opportunity in the most unexpected places.
Okay.
One of them being Puerto Rico. I think that when you are starting an initiative or pivoting or reimagining your business as a result of a crisis that you can't control, hurricane, economic downfall, pandemic, you have to look in unexpected places and look at things a little bit differently so that you can find your way.
Yeah, that's good. And so you've lived through 2008 and what that is, and so that kind of, in some senses, is similar to now in that you have to think creatively and
Exactly.
so,
Exactly.
yeah.
I think that it's, you know, at first you're not really sure what you're doing, and I think that you need almost like a dual approach. Right? You need to just do the hustle so you can pay your bills, right?
Yeah.
So I call it the daily hustle. It's like do whatever you can to pay your bills.
Got it.
And I think that that applies to solopreneurs as well as entrepreneurs or companies. I think particularly in these last 10 weeks, whatever you have done, let's just say there's two scenarios that are currently happening.
Yeah.
One is there's those companies or entrepreneurs that have managed to keep the lights on, maybe a little dimmer, but definitely their doors are open. And there's another group that unfortunately their doors are completely closed. Either way, you still have to pay the operating expenses for your companies. And if your doors have been open, you have sort of figured out, put on a bunch of Band-Aids and sort of generated a lot of cash flow, right? Just to keep going, I call that the daily hustle. If you needed to close your business, you're still trying to figure it out, and maybe it's a different approach. But either way, you need to start figuring out how do you just get cash in the door. And mind you, Drew, honestly, when this came about, I freaked out. I mean, I was having flashbacks of 2008, Maria, the earthquakes, and I'm like, I can't do this again.
Well, I mean, I think if we're being real, everybody had that reaction because the whole world, 7 billion people, had like a pause button. So I get it. Keep going.
Yeah, and I think like for me, it wasn't like I can't just do I can't do this again, because Maria was like the worst, seriously. And I think it was the worst because not only was business stopped, but your life had stopped. I think that what made this kind of scarier for me in a way was that it wasn't, in each of those cases, one of the avenues was still operational. Here, both your life and your business stopped. And I just wasn't really sure. So I'm sure like a lot of us, we just hid under the covers, cried, ate chocolate, at least in my case. Haven't stopped, which I need to.
I get it.
But once you sort of you need to get out of it. You need to act.
Yes.
I think that the key to all of this is you need to act.
Yeah.
You need to be proactive and purposefully
Yes.
in your actions. And part of that is the do whatever it takes, but simultaneously you need to start building a plan and a structure, and taking your time with that, because it's just sort of, if you don't have a plan, you'll just be doing different things, throwing things against the wall, and they're not done in a way that will give you traction. And I sort of speak to that by experience, not just with the work that I've done for some companies that they pursue international markets opportunistically, and then they don't understand why things kind of don't work out. Well, you didn't have a plan. You just you just decided to sell, right? But I also speak to it from my own personal experience. I started the consulting out of necessity. I initially thought that it was going to be the Band-Aid until my next corporate job, and quickly realized, no one was hiring. In fact, it was really unnerving when I had talked to a lot of hiring managers. They're like, we'd rather hire someone who has a job than the 50% of people that are unemployed. And so and I said, you know what? You're not even offering me what I want.
Sure.
So to all of those that are finding yourselves in that situation, jump in, the water's warm, put on your big girl pants or big boy pants, and do it. It's a huge risk, but if there's ever a time to do it, it's now.
Got it. So in this line of thinking, I'm hearing you say act and have a plan.
Yep.
So
drive the plane and build the plane while you're at it. We are all, it doesn't matter how big or small your company is, we're all startups now.
Yeah.
We are all startups now, which to me is super fun because, it's just roll up your sleeves, get it done.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So where do you see kind of this summer and fall and kind of as the economy unfolds, and how are you advising your clients and kind of looking at how they should structure that plan, or
Yeah, I mean, I think that the first thing where I started with a lot of my clients is what's your cash position? Where are you now? How much how much money do you have in reserve? Do you have money coming in? Because that will really determine what you're able to do. So that's the first and foremost. Read your financial statements. If you don't know how to read them, get someone to read it for you, because it's what gives you options, right? Once we figure out your cash position, what I'm doing is a 30, 60, 90-day plan.
Okay.
And what that entails is, if you've been operational, then how can you evaluate your sales pipeline? Let's say you had people that you thought you were going to close at the beginning of the fall.
Yeah.
pull them in. If that takes making a discount, if that, whatever it is, start creating a sort of a triage with your team, senior management, sales management, and even the client, honestly. Involve everybody in the conversation to figure out what it would take to close now.
Got it.
So that's the first and foremost. My initial of the 30-day plan, the 30 days is, what do I need to do to keep in touch with my customers? Make sure that I deepen that relationship, whether I'm selling to them or not. Particularly on the B2B side, you are their trusted advisor. And what I'm seeing a lot on the B2C side is that your brands are your trusted advisors now. Why do I say that? Think about it. The car companies are coming to your house. So they're taking care of you in a different way.
Yeah.
Because they care about your health, not just that you're buying the car. So the relationship with your clients, business to business clients and business to consumer clients are changing. So the three things is keep in touch, deepen those relationships, understand what their needs are and what their changing problems are.
Got it.
Figure out how you can close your sales, right?
Yep.
And figure out how you can keep the doors open. That's what I'm focused on, let's say for the summer, particularly now when the doors are opening.
Yeah.
Right? And so whatever worked, let's say Puerto Rico's opening this week, really, and most places are opening around this week. So let's say last week, the rules were different.
Yeah.
So in the summer, now that things are open, adjust to the new rules of operations, taking care of your clients, taking care of your employees, making sure that there's an ongoing conversation, and start really accumulating as many sales as you can to cover any losses that you've had thus far.
Yeah.
Thereafter, a lot of the conversations that we're focused on is, what does I'm calling it the new reality.
New reality.
Yeah, I'm calling it the new reality.
Pretty true. I mean, nothing's going back to the way it is.
Exactly.
We do have to reinvent our thinking. So yeah, new reality.
Yeah, I mean, I think that even, let's just say if things go back to the way they were.
Yeah.
Right? You go to the mall, no one takes your temperature, think about it. Think about, think about 9/11. I mean, it doesn't even occur to you now to wear shoes that you have to lace up because you have to take them off at the gate. It's like you have changed your behavior.
Yes.
The same thing happened after Maria. I mean, right now in Puerto Rico, I think that it's the first time that people are really ready for hurricane season. In the last 2 years, we are all really ready for hurricane season.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, being a local, that never happened. I mean, I never remember being so purposeful of stocking water, making sure I've got batteries. I never did that before. And so even this is like this shift. It's a break. So even if the normal goes back to, last Christmas, it's still not normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what you need to start forecasting for the fall. So right now, people have their sea legs. I call it the sea legs period. The summer sea legs. People are getting their sea legs back, trying to figure out, there's going to be some pent-up consumer demand. But they're addressing different problems, right? How am I going to limit the outings? How am I going to still be able to go to work? You need to, a little bit, what you should be doing in terms of building the plane is calling your clients and having an honest conversation, and I think everybody's in the same boat. Talk to your clients, understand what their view of the world is, and how their needs have changed, or what are the problems they're now encountering. Because it will be different. And
so ask questions.
Ask
figure that
questions, pick up the phone. I think that everybody has either current or past clients that they can just pick up the phone and say, hey, how you doing? That you have this like familiar, friendly relationship with. The other thing is, if you're a consumer company, you may not have that luxury, but the greatest thing that has happened is the explosion of digital at this juncture. And so put out a survey, get people to answer 2 to 3 questions on your social media. And I think people, for the most part, are really responsive to that kind of thing. So one, understand how your consumer is changing. And based on that, you can then figure out if your product is still appropriate.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So as you're advising these companies, how are you helping them kind of reevaluate their business or their product offerings?
Yeah, I mean, so once we figure out that the customer has changed or has moved on to a different vendor because you were closed, then you need to do a couple of things. One is figure out if your product or service offer is still relevant. If it's not, can you repackage it?
Yeah.
If your client base is no longer relevant and you can't package it, do you go super niche?
Okay.
So there's 2 things that are, sorry, I'm like thinking so 2 things in parallel. On the one end, you need to evaluate your product portfolio.
Okay.
And what that means is understanding if it's relevant for your current customer base. If their problems have changed, can your products adjust accordingly? And if they can't, do you need to pivot 100%? And I can use myself as that example, actually. In my consulting practice, I focus on 3 distinct areas. One is establishing the foundation for your business, making sure your business model and your revenue model align.
Okay.
The second is scaling your business, so preparing your company to accelerate your growth and gain very quick traction. And what I mean by that is, do you have the people, the products, the process, and the money to structure and grow quickly?
Sure.
Right? To be scalable and exportable in each of those areas. And then the third part is establishing an international presence. And I kind of walk people through that. And so at this point, a few months back, those latter 2 were no longer really a viable option for me in my service. But I was fortunate that I could take pieces from the different groupings and create an offer called New Beginnings.
New beginnings.
Which is things that I know people need right now. Evaluating financial plans, figuring out your 30, 60, 90 days, that kind of thing. That kept me afloat. That has been keeping me afloat, right? In this next wave for the fall, knowing that people will have dust settle, more sales, then we can talk about the other products.
Got it.
But it will be a repackage. I think that on the other end, you also need to, so that's on the product side. On the business strategy side, you need to determine if you are in a situation that you're lucky you sell masks, right? Or you're in the tech business, providing service or tech support, web, and your business has exploded.
Sure.
So just keep going, right? And perfect your model. But in other industries or even in tech sectors, if you're not that service, then you need to make the determination based on your financial performance, your customer, and your product, if you need to go super niche, if you need to repackage like what I did to reach a different audience, but with the same core value proposition, right? Or a complete change.
Sure.
And each of those business strategies require completely, some adjustment, let's put it that way, in all areas, right? People, product, process, and finances.
Got it. Interesting.
So that's kind of what I'm working on with people. So on the short end, I'm working on this new beginnings. And on the longer term, we're working towards reevaluating and restructuring and making the decisions on where your business needs to be.
Got it. So in that kind of line of thinking, I know you'd mentioned as we talked yesterday that you've seen some shifts with international markets with some clients and kind of that outlook that you're seeing. So maybe
Yeah, I was actually, it's a trend that caught me by surprise. I really wasn't expecting it, and I'm pleasantly surprised, of course. One of the nice things that have happened, and I know we're gonna maybe talk about this a little later, and I mentioned it, which is the whole digital explosion and opening networks and social media and greater connectedness. I've been really fortunate to talk to different people around the world, whether old clients, new clients, and new contacts, actually. And surprisingly, people are really evaluating international as an option. That they're looking at this reimagining of their business as, you know what, I need to scale, but I want to scale global. So it's really a force of, you know what, we've got nothing to lose. This is really important, and this is where the future is going. I think that any company, and I see that a lot here, that thinks that their local market or their regional market is going to be enough. I don't think that that's going to be the case based on the conversations that I've had with people in economic development, people in different trade associations, and different clients globally. I don't think that that will be enough, number one. I also think that because things have gone digital, I mean, let's face it, Drew, you have a website, you're global. If you didn't realize that, you better start realizing it, right? But I think that what happens is that you need to be more purposeful because there's more opportunity now.
Sure.
And I think that the world has opened up a little bit because you can't find everything locally.
Yeah.
And that's a pro and a con.
Yeah.
That has good and bad consequences.
Sure.
As we've all experienced and seen, given the healthcare infrastructure and abilities around the world and how we're suffering.
Got it. Yeah. So, as you said, with the digital explosion and we're all needing to reevaluate how we connect and, that's such an important element in business, right? Especially business development.
Yeah.
So how are you seeing that shift in all that?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting to me because as the physical borders close and close and close, the networks are opening. I mean, to me, it's really been fascinating. I mean, even you. I mean, with the Uncommon, we had local events, which were smashing. I think that you had like the biggest number of people in most events. And it was great because we had a really diverse group of people connecting and meeting. And what I have seen is that is happening now digitally and globally. For me, that's been terrific. I think that it has permitted me to access organizations that previously I would have never been able to access because, like Uncommon, it was all local and on-site events. I've been able to talk to more people, and one of the key things in business in general, but particularly for the new reality and the new world, I think it will be really important that we have and gather different perspectives around the world. I think that because we need to be closed in physically, we are tending to also close ourselves mentally, right, emotionally. But that isolation is the worst, both personal and professional, for your business. And I think that you need to take advantage of the global conversations. It's interesting. A lot of people are, let me go off on a tangent because
Yeah.
it's a real parallel
Sure.
to making sure that you leverage global relationships. People always ask me, why do I need to go global? It's a real headache. It's hard.
Sure.
It's scary. But the ROI is huge. When you establish a global presence, you become more innovative, right? You have more information that you can use to make decisions. You have different perspectives, which enriches your organization because it enriches your offer.
Sure.
And it enriches your decisions. And in a way, it streamlines your process because you can be more effective. You can really leverage the expertise. So it's not like trying to keep a little Band-Aid. And like, for example, 3 weeks ago, I couldn't get a hold of anybody doing a web developer, and I'm sitting there learning WordPress, and I'm thinking, really? This is crazy. But yeah, good on me. I'm lucky. I just go for it, right? But imagine if I had now that I have a global network,
Yeah.
I have global
Leverage
people
somebody
to help
else's
me.
talents.
Exactly. And that's what happens when you go global. And it is the same in establishing a global network. I believe that you get the same benefits as if you were to establish yourself in a new market,
Got it.
right? More ideas, more innovation,
Yeah.
and you see it yourself. I mean, that's why we all network, right? To get a different perspective, to get challenged, to get pushed,
Yeah.
to support each other,
Yeah.
and I mean, funny enough, there's more parallels than what we think. I mean, 2 nights ago, one of the things that I'm doing as my little granito de arena, to help and contribute, is that I'm being more purposeful in connecting people. I mean, I'm a huge connector anyway, but I'm being very purposeful, particularly in environmental issues. So I connected a friend of mine in Kenya with a friend of mine in Wisconsin that's working with a group in Utuado, Puerto Rico, on microgrid solutions. And it was interesting to see
Solar.
to see the parallels in mindset and in infrastructure and in stage of development in Puerto Rico and in Kenya. And who would have thought, right? I mean, they're a little bit more advanced than we are, but honestly, there's so many parallels and lessons that we can draw upon. That's the power of it. That's a huge, powerful statement. And this guy is going to help the people here. How great is that? How great is that?
Collaboration.
100%. Networking and collaboration, that's the key to success. That's it. That's the magic secret sauce.
Got it. Well, it's good. I mean, so in recap, yeah, exactly. That's the secret sauce.
I mean, the reality is that this is why you and I get on, right?
Yeah.
Let's face it.
Yeah, you're definitely right. So, yeah, so act with a plan, have collaboration, be willing to be bold and take risks right now.
Absolutely.
I know you were saying that risks, it's everything. And so, yeah, kind of winding things down, but any kind of other thoughts that you've been hearing kind of on the business end that might be useful and, with your lens?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what people are doing, people sort of know. I just say you need to act faster. There's this real window. On the one end, we have all this time to think and plan because things are not at 100% capacity. They're at 25 or 50% capacity. Interestingly enough, we're all working longer hours. But what I see is that people are working smart and hard. And I think that the smart piece is take the giant leap forward, jump in the pool. And that's the scary part. But, I mean, look, I did it. And mind you, I have an amazing, and thank you all, because I know that you're on the call and the video. Thank you all, because you have been amazing people in my life. I have an amazing group of friends and family that have been an incredible network and support system through the most interesting part of my journey.
Yeah.
But that said, I really jumped in with both feet, and things were not pretty. Financially and personally, I just thought I would never be here, that I could never confidently speak to you. When this whole thing started for me, I thought I'm never going to get out of this. My life is ruined, and I'm never going to have another success again. I mean, I was in a really dark cloud. And, 12, 15 years later, I'm telling you, look, you know what? It is possible. It is scary.
Hope.
But you can do it. And what's really different now than it was, in 2008, there's 2 or 3 things that make me feel proud to be an entrepreneur, and number one, and make me more committed to my personal motto, which is each one help one and teach one. And that is that today, that support system doesn't have to be next door, doesn't have to be your family. I think that entrepreneurs are amazing, amazing, amazing. We help each other out without any interest. We are real givers because we know that if the boat rises, we all rise and we all benefit. So all of us have to be successful. And I have experienced that in a lot of the entrepreneurial communities that I've been fortunate to be part of, not just here in Puerto Rico, but Miami, Australia, New York. And so it's a really great feeling that I know is a global feeling. That's one. And the other is, I got to say, when this whole thing started back in the day, in 2008, social media was not really social media. LinkedIn was it, and people were really not in it. And now, LinkedIn is, to me, the greatest thing that was ever invented because it, from a business standpoint, it's great. I have managed to change and support really diverse industries thanks to that network. So I went into media, not knowing anything about newspaper industry, and quickly came up to speed thanks to developing a network. So, I think that there are instruments and technologies and networks that will make sure that you succeed. Just don't even crawl before you walk. Just go, start. I say it's a great journey, for sure.
Good. That's good.
Yeah.
A lot of nuggets, a lot of good takeaways, and
Yeah.
I'm feeling hopeful and more
Yeah.
educated. So, in kind of wrapping up, like, how do people find you?
Yeah, so definitely on LinkedIn, Linda Holcman, What's Next Ventures. You can get me on my email, linda@whatsnextventures.com. On Twitter, Linda Holcman. And
We'll put all the links below.
yeah, I think that's it, right? That's all. And on Facebook, but Facebook is a lot harder to find people. LinkedIn is like the easiest. To me, the best. That's the one that I'm always on.
Sure.
That's my baby.
Cool. I appreciate you joining us, and I know people got a lot out of this.
Yeah, and also, before I forget, I actually wanted to let people know to DM us, myself or Drew. I'm happy to sit down with anybody for, half an hour, walk with you, your plan, give you different perspective, give you different ideas. They're always popping up. And the other thing is DM us, because I am putting together a little sort of idea starter, a series of questions on those 4 or 5 areas to get you thinking and help you shape a little bit thinking about your business. So definitely drop us a line and we'll get that to you.
Yeah, great idea.
Yeah.
Ideas start to flow. And
absolutely.
So definitely take her up on that. And we'll put the details in the show notes, so you'll have that too. But again, thank you for coming on.
Drew,
and,
thanks for having me. This is
you're
awesome.
an integral part of the community down here, so appreciate it.
My pleasure.
See you guys soon. Next week, we'll be going live.